Now, in other news, factional national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, has said the party's presidential ticket for the 2027 election is no longer reserved solely for its former candidate in the last election, Peter Obi. Speaking during a press briefing after the party's National Executive Committee meeting in Abuja on Monday, Abure accused Peter Obi and the governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, of betrayal and deliberately creating divisions within the party. He further stated how the presidential election funds were used during the 2023 election.
The party was never involved in the distribution of those resources. Our interest was to see how we can produce a president for the party. However it was done, we didn't bother ourselves about it. Hence, we gave them free hands. Whoever they trusted, whoever they wanted to entrust their resources to, we didn't want to bother ourselves with it. We followed them sheepishly. We followed them loyally and allowed them to administer the funds of the campaign for the election and so on and so forth. As per the donation, the party was not involved in the collection of any donation, campaign donations. Donations to the campaign were channeled to the following accounts: Obi Dati Amen campaign account, Zenith Bank 124-195-0451, Sterling Bank 0091657896. Heritage Bank 1400234900. Globus Bank 1000128194. The signatories to these accounts were Aisha Yusuf and Pastor Itwa Irudari. They were equally responsible for the payment of polling unit agents. The party did not even bother to pay its agents. We handed over the list to the campaign council and to those who were administering these funds to pay polling unit agents that worked for the presidential election. Consequently, it is mischievous for any person to accuse me at the party for mismanaging of these funds. At no time did the party or its officials engage in any financial transaction.
Former Director General of the Obi Dati Presidential Campaign Council in the 2023 presidential election, Akin Osuntokun, joins us now to discuss the withdrawal of automatic tickets from Peter Obi and Governor Alex Oti of Abia State by the Abure-led Labour Party faction. Good afternoon and welcome to Newsday on Arise News.
Good afternoon.
So what do you make of the Abure-led factions? Good afternoon. What do you make of the Abure-led factions' withdrawal of automatic presidential and gubernatorial tickets reserved for Peter Obi and Alex Oti for the 2027 election?
Well, it's not for him to decide who will be the candidate or not. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of his role. Somebody they tend to be prone to delusion of grandeur. How can party chairman be announcing today? So you have already decided who is going to be the potential. It's a bit illogical. The only thing I would like to say is that, look, this kind of potential rogue behavior, by chairman or executive, it did not start with him, and it will not end with him. The thing is that, the Labour Party, on account of the strength and the capacity that displayed, that shocked many people, right, makes it very vulnerable to vested interests, specifically the ruling party, for instance. They will be interested in the subversion of the party. And the quickest way to do that is to go through the chairman. And you saw the one with Apapa, so we are at it again. I don't know, as I said, I don't think it will stop with him. apart from what is, look at the logic of the situation. First and foremost, look, the most significant person in the party, let us be realistic, is Peter Obi. And then, of course, the governor was elected on the platform. Then the Labour Congress, NLC. These are the major stakeholders in the party. If they said, look, let's for a moment, forget about legal, histrionics. There's nothing you cannot get through the court these days, so it's of no consequence. So if you have all these parties saying that, look, it's time for you to step aside. And it's not as if the argument that have been made, it's not solid. So, and then you decided on your own, you called a convention. Apart from those the stakeholders that I mentioned earlier, there is also the INEC. There's no way you can hold a convention without the presence and the consent of the INEC. Of this, what you want to say about them. So if you stage a convention on which the principal stakeholders stood away, and the INEC is, quote and unquote, sits in a position of some kind of approving authority, on things like convention. So then we decided to go to court again to. So look, this tendency of sit-tight syndrome, is what is principally wrong with Africans. Then look, potentially, Obi is likely to be the candidate of the party, in the next election. He is from Southeast. So by the logic of Nigeria's power politics, the chairman of the party should not come from the South. That is moral, that is logical. Now for you to, so I don't know how this plays in his mind, but everybody, if he's truly thinking about the party and the prospects of the party, these are the kind of things you should have taken into consideration. It will be emerges as it is going. I can't see anybody, who can challenge him for the running, apart from the man who is claiming that they withdrew something. I doubt if there's anybody in the party, who can defeat him at the presidential primaries. That's a contradiction in terms. So this is the situation we find ourselves, and as I said, it didn't start with him. You remember the Apapa faction, and now him. The other parties who are interested in the subversion of the Labour Party, they will always get hired guns, to do this kind of job, Right, so, unfortunately, if he goes today, I'm almost certain.
If I may come in here, you talk about logic and morals, but I'm wondering what the Labour Party Constitution says about this, because the National Publicity Secretary of the party, of the Abure-led NWC of the Labour Party, that's Abure, says that the formation of a body is alien. That's the committee that was set up by the former governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, and the governor of Abia State, Alex Otti, saying that it is not constitutional, especially when you look at the Labour Party constitution. Let's hear your thoughts on that.
Well, it is not for me or the publicity secretary of the party to determine. I don't even know what they call alien. If any party they have not gone to say they are representing the party, in a legal or constitutional procedure. If they go to INEC today, that they want to do something on behalf of the Labour Party, INEC would probably not, allow them to do so. So it's not everybody being set up, every organization or sub-organization being set up with regards to Labour Party that needs, whatever you may call it, alien or no alien, you can have elders of the party. We don't need any court to make you a group of elders of the party. So it's a pity. Look, when you are calling Peter Obi an alien to Labour Party. Or to is that logical? Let us not deceive ourselves. What was Labour Party, if not about Peter Obi in the last election? So if I are referring to that person, the kind of person, and what they did, as alien, then I doubt, I don't know. What about he staged a convention in which INEC was not present? So what do you call him? Legally, if the INEC is not in the convention, then his election or the appointment or whatever as chairman is a nullity. So of course it's funny to hear the same person talking about alien to the party or not alien to the party. As a member of the Labour Party, for instance, I can invite people, fellow party leaders, and let us form a pressure group, to see what we can do in support of the party. So it's a non-starter, So the Abure it's better. I mean, it's more acceptable for you, for Obi and Governor Oti to stand aside, and watch the party, head for destruction. Is that the option of what a person who wishes good for that party should consider? So ask him when you see him that how alien is it for good people who have goodwill, who have the status, to say that they want to do things, they want to support the party or take the party forward. So you prefer a situation in which everybody does nothing, just for you to remain chairman of what?
What you have termed goodwill, Julius Abure believes...
Can you speak louder?
I said what you have termed goodwill...
Can you take that again? Speak.
What you have termed goodwill, Julius Abure believes it is a betrayal. And it says Peter Obi is deliberately creating divisions within the Labour Party. According to Julius Abure, he says he followed Peter Obi sheepishly and loyally in his bid to win the presidential election in 2023. So I'm just wondering, what message do you think this back and forth sends to Nigerians who have placed their hope in the Labour Party, on the Labour Party?
I've told you now. You're asking me a rhetorical question. Look, anybody who is interested in the progress of the party, right, should do the kind of thing that Peter Obi and Governor Oti have done. You cannot. The parties are not by legalism, that as chairman of what? National chairman of what? I mean, what if the Labour Party implodes, right? So is that a preferable option? I don't know where people are talking about betrayal or no betrayal. Look, I've always made this argument, but of course it has its own counter-argument, is that the Constitution should allow for independent candidacy. I believe that if Obi had stood as an independent candidate in the last election, he probably would have done as good as what he has done before. Actually, my own observation during the electioneering campaign is the gap between the idealism that Obi represented and the real politics tending towards crookedness of the party, on which he was standing as a candidate. I don't think, the man who is, I went through the campaign with them, and you will have known the role, whether Labour Party, so-called, was really an asset, to be at that time. I'm not convinced about that. I knew what they were all about, beginning with Abure himself. You go to it's always about money for them, money to do the rally, to do this and that, I don't know. I mean, so the gap has always been there, between the kind of idealistic politics that Obi represented versus their own pecuniary, tendencies. So it has, as I told you before, it had happened before, and it will not stop with this one. If Abure goes away today, if you get another Labour Party chairman, unless you look very, 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 very comprehensively at that person, the behavior is still likely to be there because there is a market for it. Right? You can use that position as chairman of the Labour Party, as a hired gun, to make money because there are people who want specifically the destabilization of that party, which is the role he is playing. There's always a market for that. So that is, for me, that is what is acting out. Who come around and look, it's not, I don't, as somebody who has gone through, the electioneering campaign, I know what, I mean, I will not, I don't regard, the Labour Party, so to say, the structure of the Labour Party,
okay,
undying, as an asset, to the candidate.
All right. One would wonder what went wrong between the embattled chairman of the party, Julius Abure, and the presidential candidate during the 2023 presidential elections who ran on the party ticket, that's a Labour Party ticket, Peter Obi. One would wonder what went wrong between them because Peter Obi was one of the people who accepted him as the chairman of the party. And then all of a sudden we're hearing all of this internal rancor and disparities. What went wrong?
Nothing went wrong. I mean, if you have followed the crisis, he was the one who staged the convention. His time was due. He was due to leave as chairman of the party. And then he staged a convention where he was quote and unquote, re-elected. But I've told you that, look, if you're interested in the reality or the truth of what any convention staged by anybody, that INEC, this same INEC, whether you like them or not, if they are not there, if INEC is not there, to that extent is a nullity. And of course, it was changed away when INEC called a meeting of political parties a while ago. He went to the meeting, he was asked to leave because they don't recognize him as chairman. Look, there is nothing that has gone wrong, between B and what. I'm just telling you that, look, it's really a conflict between idealism and, the kind of pecuniary that where you have in Nigeria everywhere. Well, you know of this seat-side syndrome, and you always think of yourself first above everything that. Look, why must you insist? It baffles me, that I shouldn't say that, but it's not unexpected. But as I said, it didn't start with him. It probably will not end with him. So it's not as if something went wrong. No. If somebody is doing the wrong thing, you have to, I should say, I should have a problem with that person. Anybody wishing Labour Party well today, in its with his association with Obi, will not behave the way Abure is behaving. This is what I'm not speculating. As I told you, I saw what happened. I mean, the election campaign, campaign periods and occasions are when you can determine, the kind of people who are at the top of the party, their character, and things like that. So I'm not speculating. These are things I made up my mind on, things that I experienced, so about the party. And look, let me give you an instance, for instance, about the man we are talking about. He's so obsessed with himself. When introductions are made at campaign rallies, right? The other is the presidential candidate, the vice presidential candidate, himself as chairman of the party, and then me. Okay, there was one occasion, one rally, that, I don't know what I do. Look, this is obviously nothing. So I was mentioned, my name was mentioned. I was introduced before him. You can see how he, he was so flustered. He was so shouting that this nobody is being introduced. Sometimes this is and that. So that is the kind of person that he is, you know. So you are not. It's not what you are implying that is in the situation. It's a typical mercenary behavior, you know, that we are dealing with, you know. So there is not that anything where anybody who has the interest of that party, you know,
well, thank you very much.
Would be as the leader of the party.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Kind of thing that it is wrong legally, and morally it's also wrong.
Now, as we've been told in the past, we understand, you know, that the obedience movement...
differences or whatever it is.
Mr. Osuntokun, I don't know if you can hear me. As we've been told in the past, we understand that the obedience movement is organic, you know, and cannot exactly be said to be part of the Labour Party. So I'm wondering, what next for the obedient movement as we look forward to 2027? Hello? What next for Peter Obi? Well, it seems that our guest is having issues hearing us. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday, Mr. Akin Osuntokun, former DG Obidati Presidential Campaign Council in the 2023 presidential election.